I've got a light or something, so I'm afraid I always go back.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Usually when his headphones are on, that's when he's on these live. Good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to see so many familiar faces and some new faces as well. Welcome today. We are excited to hear about your presentations. You have made it to this round, and that's a very good thing. We're very impressed with everything that we've seen. Our grants committee, led by Dr. Betty Pond and Lee Ash, has done a fantastic job. So if you serve on the grants committee, would you please raise your hand so everybody can see you? Wonderful. And all of the Women in Philanthropy board members and members who are here, if you would raise your hand. All right, so that leaves all of the grantees who are around the table. We're videotaping the presentations today. We'll send the link out to our entire membership, and it will also go out via hard copy. So there will be ample opportunity for them to log on, to look at your presentation, and to make informed decisions about where our money goes. So we would ask you, please, to turn off your cell phones. We don't want that to be on the video, and I'm afraid I might be the culprit, so I'll do that right away. Any questions before I turn it over to Dr. Pond? All right, Betty? Okay, to this Betty.
No, this is Betty M.
I did not
And I'm
introduce
Betty
myself.
P.
I apologize.
She's our chair of Women in
I'm
Philanthropy.
Betty Mann. It's good to see everybody. Thank you, Betty.
Thank y'all for being here. We're very excited, and I'm not going to, everybody needs to grab a seat. There's some chairs over here, whether
All of
you,
our grantees, y'all sit down because you'll get tired by the time you
Yeah.
get up. You don't sit down.
and whoever would like to be first, who would like to be first? Okay, come on.
I'll do it. I'll be the guest saying yes.
Team player.
So we've got these chairs over here, folks. Okay, let me introduce Julie Miller. She's the executive director of Family Connection of Columbia County, and their project, the name of their project, and Susan Johnson, who's the director of development. Their project is called Tee It Up for Kids, and their grant request is $10,000.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here today. I see some familiar faces, and Dan, don't be throwing stuff at me, okay? All right, well, thank you. I appreciate it. We are very excited to make it to this stage of the grant competition. One of the things that we do with Columbia County Community Connections is we serve a lot of children. We're about kids, and so we have an after-school program that serves 50 economically disadvantaged children. And these are children who would not have an opportunity to participate in an after-school program were it not for grants and donations that allow them to come. They would not have transportation, they don't have the means, they don't have the family support to be able to do that. And so within our after-school program, we have created an opportunity for them to play golf. And we are in Grovetown, outside of Grovetown actually. And so it's a good ways to, we would love to be able to partner with First Tee. We don't want to create anything that's already been created, but there's just no way for us to get them there and be able to participate on a daily basis. So we kind of created a mini First Tee within our organization. And so on days like today, when it's nice and the kids can get on the golf course, we take 7 or 8 kids at a time, and they get an opportunity to putt and chip and drive the ball. And so we have children, boys and girls, black, white, Hispanic, who are participating in this program. And they are learning things, they're learning all those wonderful things that golf teaches us about honesty and integrity, sportsmanship, respect, and they're learning all the other things about the terms of golf, like chipping and putting and all that stuff, right? And these are children who have never had an opportunity to be exposed to golf before. And so what our request is that we want to be able to, we don't really, it's about a 15-minute drive to the golf course, so they get a chance to go once every 2 weeks. So that limits them in our opportunity to be able to expose them to golf. So our goal is to be able to create a putting course and a driving range so that the children can practice when they're not getting to go to the golf course. And so that is what our request, that's how we want to spend the money that if we were successful. And we have researched it, we have looked it up, and there's amazing things out there for to create like movable putting greens and driving ranges, and so they would be able to participate in that. So, I'm sorry that we can't show you our little video because we did some video of the kids, and we have a handout, and if you ever get a chance to, it's on YouTube, you can go and look it up, and you can see the children themselves, and they're telling their own words what it's like to participate in the Tee It Up for Kids program. So, why should you fund this program? Because, number one, these are children who would not have this opportunity without your help. Number two, these children are going to have an opportunity to learn valuable skills that will carry them through the rest of their lives. And the outcomes that we're going to be able to tell you about at the end of this program is that at least 75 to 80% of these children will have shown some improvement in their skill level, but also in those very valuable characteristics, those traits that we all want children to have. And that's it. Is there can I answer any questions?
I apologize for not being able to speak today. Unfortunately, my voice would not have carried this.
Okay. Well, we thank both of y'all for coming.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your
Okay, I just put in right here, USC Aiken is our next organization, and Judith Goodwin is the development officer at USC Aiken, and then Mrs. Jenny Emerson, she's the director of I Care for Forward, Inc. And then this is Dr. Claire McDaffie, who is dean of the School of Nursing, and they're going to tell us about From Darkness to Light, and they're requesting $11,850.
Thank you all. Thank you all for considering our grant application. We really do appreciate all these ladies do for our community. It makes a big difference. Our proposal From Darkness to Light is to offer a workshop in Aiken County on how to identify victims of human sex trafficking. It'll be an interdisciplinary conference with people from healthcare, law enforcement, social services, education, and religious organizations. What I'd like to share with you first is how I personally became very interested in this. I knew about the risk factors. The position, Augusta, the CSRA, is a large sex trafficking location because of our proximity to Atlanta, and Atlanta being one of the primary entries into the United States, into our country for this purpose. Last year, I also had a friend who volunteered during Masters Week to man a hotline for potential victims. And I was really shocked to realize that it was that human sex trafficking was so prevalent during this magic week in Augusta. There was a girl as young as 10 who called the hotline looking for help, and about half of the people who called described their location as being in North Augusta or Aiken. But what really caught my attention was when one of my nursing students came to my office and sat down and shared her story with me, and I would have had no idea had she not shared it with me. And it was then that I realized that this is a problem that's not some random obscure occurrence that happens to other people, but it's right here in our own backyard, and it's right under our very eyes. So let me just summarize briefly her story. She had a very dysfunctional and very unstable childhood and moved around about 15 times. She was eventually kicked out of her house by her mother when she was 14. So as a 14-year-old, she went from friend to friend, eventually ran out of places to stay, sometimes would spend the night in a filling station gasoline station bathroom, and eventually a very kind man took her in. She thought, okay, I'm going to be okay. Well, very soon she found herself being passed around from person to person, house to house, and was eventually held hostage and spent several years locked in a room or in a closet while different men would come in and out all hours of the day or night to have sex with her, sometimes as many as 20 men in one day. She was verbally, physically, and sexually abused and could not do anything about it. She was 18 and eventually found a way to escape, which was great. But here she is at 18 with an 8th grade education, and she's homeless once again and doesn't know what to do. Well, to make this story short, she is a success story. She eventually earned her GED, and I can proudly say that she graduated from her nursing program in December. She's happily married, she has a beautiful daughter, and she's doing well. And her story, though, and the sickening details that she shared with me just struck a nerve and made me realize that this issue is all around us and we can't just sit back and let other people do something about it. But before we can intervene, we have to be able to identify who these young girls and sometimes young men are. I'm going to now let Ginger Anderson talk with you about the details of the event itself and what we're proposing to do.
Thank you, Judith, and thank you all for giving us this opportunity to share about the needs in our proposal. The CSRA is one of several southeastern communities that's on a circuit where young girls are sold like merchandise. Our proximity to Atlanta, as Judith mentioned, our trafficking, which is a major trafficking hub, our location on an interstate like I-20, the large transient male population that we have in our community, and the presence of the adult sex industry, along with the fact that we host the Masters here annually, are all contributing factors to us being vulnerable to domestic minor sex trafficking, otherwise known as DMST. In fact, our experience of serving young victims who have either been rescued by law enforcement or referred to us by other agencies points to the fact that there are indeed many young girls in this community who are being raped for profit many times a day. Georgia statistics show that anywhere from 200 to 400 girls per month are sold in our state, and a startling recent statistic, 91% of these children are in school. That means your children, my children, are sitting at school with some of the victims while they're being sold at night and on weekends. This is only part of a worldwide human trafficking business that generates $32 to $39 billion annually. And to put that figure into perspective, the combined annual income of Google, McDonald's, and Walmart combined annually is less than $23 billion. The largest single factor driving the demand for this type of merchandise is the porn industry, and the rise of websites such as Backpage, Craigslist, and the like have created the perfect storm of desire and anonymity where young girls are ordered in like pizza. However, unlike pizza, which is consumable, these girls are reusable resources and are sold repeatedly day after day, night after night. A recent minor victim that we have served in cooperation with a rescue effort of the FBI is a 17-year-old female who was being sold from approximately 8:30 in the morning until 11 p.m. at night and then returned home in time for her curfew. This activity went on daily in her life for several months. Previously, this young girl had been enrolled in school as a gifted student. During her vulnerable years leading up to this tragic lifestyle, we found that this girl was hidden in plain view and that awareness of DMST across all disciplines could have provided an escape for her beforehand. In addition, we learned that during her period of victimization, she sought medical attention, yet wasn't identified as a trafficking victim. We believe with proper education, professionals will be able to identify victims and connect them to proper resources and help advocates to intervene on the victim's behalf. In fact, a training similar to the one we're proposing to do in South Carolina has already led to proper intervention and identification of young girls. The proposed 2016 Darkness Alike Conference will lay the groundwork for proper statistic gathering in our community, proper identification and response to victims, and will help identify and close gaps in current services in our community. The South Carolina State Plan has passed down from the Attorney General's office has identified such training as a vital part of the plan to protect and serve children in our communities. They have also identified for current statistics to be gathered in order to establish better preparedness. For the proposed conference, professionals across all disciplines of the CSRA who are serving children, including social workers, law enforcement, mental health providers, healthcare providers, educators, juvenile court officials, child advocates, and more, will be invited to this free conference with the possibility of receiving professional credits in their unique field of work. The trainers for the conference have been selected from among our nation's leading experts in their particular fields of work and have been identified as strong advocates for community collaboration. One of the legal advocates who attended the last conference this past fall noted that it was the most relevant training she had received in 20 years of professional service. Thank you for your consideration of training more professionals in our community and those across the river as well. Any further questions?
Shall we go? This is Barbara Feldman, she's Executive Director of Philanthropy Theater. And the title, our 2015 season of musicals, and the grant request is for $15,000.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Storyland Theater is a 27-year-old Georgia nonprofit corporation. And over the years, over 600,000 students, teachers, and families from all over the CSRA have attended our performances. And we're now back at the Grover Maxwell Performing Arts Theater at Georgia Regents University. We've completed our October and January shows this year, Mademoiselle Hood Meets Little Wolf and Rapunzel. And by the end of March, after everyone sees Beauty and the Beast, we will have had 22,500 people at our shows this year alone. We're all adult actors who want to expose children to the finest theater in our area. Many children have never attended a live performance. In fact, they come in and say that they're coming to a movie. About 70% of the students who come to our performances are socioeconomically disadvantaged. They come from 8 counties in Georgia and South Carolina. About 11,000 of those students attend on discounted or even free tickets each year. Many would never see live theater if they didn't come with their schools. Sometimes even free tickets aren't enough, and so we offer transportation credits to help teachers pay for the very expensive buses. 1/3 of the schools that are attending will have transportation credits this year. We support Fort Gordon with free tickets for all active duty military personnel and their families, and over the last 11 years, over 10,000 of them have attended our performances. Our Saturday family matinees provide a wholesome family activity for families to share. We welcome the military, we ask them all to stand, and we thank them all for their service. We recognize the Girl Scouts at our performances. And after the show, the children get to meet the actors, they sign autographs and take photographs, and it's a wonderful opportunity for all of them. Each year, we present 3 original plays and musicals written by local artists. The music is composed locally as well. We create beautiful sets and costumes and lighting and special effects. We make full-scale theatrical productions. We control the quality of those plays and musicals. We revise those fairy tales if necessary, so our plays present a good message, good role models, and characters who make the right decisions. Teachers receive Common Core standards for Georgia or South Carolina to help justify their trips, and they get Storyland lesson plan ideas by grade so they can teach theater even without theater training in the classroom before and after they attend each performance. We do a theater etiquette speech at the beginning of each show so that students can learn what to expect and how to behave. We talk about the shows we're doing, we explain theater terminology to them so they'll get the most out of each performance. There's a wealth of talent in the CSRA. Storyland provides local artists with an opportunity to create wonderful shows while getting an honorarium to help them financially so they can explore their creativity. Our production staff and actors, many of whom are on our board, include theater professors, radio personalities, retired principals, teachers, and college students, all of whom want to teach children to love the theater like we do. There are many worthwhile organizations in Augusta offering children shelter, clothing, and help with health issues. Storyland's mission is to nurture their souls. We open their eyes to the world of the arts for education and enjoyment. Children who experience the arts improve in their test scores. They increase their ability to learn, and they develop a whole new way to look at the world. Our request is that you help us continue making a trip to Storyland Theater possible for every child whose teacher wants to plan a field trip. We do this by offering unlimited tickets at whatever price a teacher needs to make it happen. We give free tickets when needed and transportation credits if they're having trouble paying for the buses. When students leave our performances, they often decide to be actors or study dance or play the piano. We have actors working with us today who attended Storyland as children and wanted to be actors. Children will enjoy attending live performances as they mature because they enjoyed coming to Storyland as a child. And when they grow up, they'll bring their own children to theater. They'll encourage them to study the arts because they will remember enjoying Storyland Theater as a child. Attending Storyland Theater today ensures Augusta's arts audiences will grow tomorrow. I've enjoyed meeting several of you already. We're grateful for this opportunity to present to you, and we look forward to welcoming many of you and your children and grandchildren to our future performances. Thank you so much.
Center of Aiken County Services Grant is what they're applying for in the amount of $17,000.
Thank you, Betty. Appreciate it. I'm very grateful to have gotten this far. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. I'm the director of the Child Advocacy Center in Aiken. I see Dan Hillman here with Child Advocacy in Augusta. The Child Advocacy Center process started years ago, back in 1985, when there was a young girl who'd been sexually abused by her dad. And she finally, years on down the road, told Grandma about what was going on. And Grandmother went to the proper authorities. By the time this case went to trial, and many of you don't know this, some of you do, that not many cases make it that far. But this case went to trial, and he was prosecuted and he was sent to jail. And the prosecuting attorney turned to the grandmother and said, "Aren't you glad that we got him in jail?" And she looked at him and said, "I am very grateful to you for what you've done for my grandchild. But I need to tell you something." At that point, he knew that the wrath of that grandma was going to come down on his head. He didn't know what he'd done, but it was like, he says, "Well, you know, what's the problem?" She says, "Your system for caring for children who've been sexually abused did more damage to my granddaughter than the sexual abuse by her father." And he was just floored. He was just, because he was a good man. He was trying to do the right thing. And he said, "You know, I'm going to take that to heart." And he was not only a man who listened, but he was a man of his word. And he started the very first Child Advocacy Center in Huntsville, Alabama in 1985. Since then, Child Advocacy Centers have spread across the United States. So around 700 or so Child Advocacy Centers in the country. There's 17 in South Carolina. And we're proud to be one of those 17. The Child Advocacy Center in Aiken County started because there were so many children who were falling between the cracks. There were so many children whose cases were not being properly investigated, and the people involved in the case weren't talking to each other. A little girl in Huntsville talked to 15 different people before her case went to trial. Can you imagine what it's like for a child to have to repeat a story like that over and over and over again? It re-traumatizes the child. It truly does. So we got started in Aiken because a lot of us here in Aiken knew that we had to do it better, that we weren't doing right by our children. There was an adult system that we were trying to work children into, and it just didn't quite fit. It just did not quite fit. So the powers that be got together and started planning in 2002. By 2005, we opened our doors. We've grown from a staff of 1 to a staff of 6. This past year, we saw 360 children. Around 70% of those children came in because they were reported to have been sexually abused. Around 30% were reported to be physically abused. Of those children that over this past year, we've had 3 children who were shaken babies. 2 of those children died, and one of those children will be a vegetable for the rest of his life. Now, obviously, we didn't interview the babies. We interviewed younger children in the home who saw what was happening, okay? In years past, these children's cases would not have been treated at a child advocacy center. Now they can come to the Child Advocacy Center, which is a very child-friendly environment, and those of you who have been there can attest to the fact that it feels pretty neat when you walk in those doors, bright and cheerful. And they can receive the services that they need. What we do, whenever there's a report of child abuse or neglect, then instead of law enforcement and the Department of Social Services, or DFACS as it's called over here in Augusta, instead of them interviewing the children at great length, they get just enough information to find out if they need to look into it further. And if they do, then they refer that child and the non-offending caregiver to our office, where we do what we call a forensic interview. Now, one of the things that we're asking for in this grant is $10,000 towards this forensic interviewer, which is a very needed and necessary part of our services. In that interview, they're asked questions about what's happened to them. They have to be trained in a very particular manner so that their questions are not leading and so that they're developmentally appropriate. We see children from the ages of 2 to 17. And in addition to those 2 to 17-year-olds, sometimes we see adults who might have traumatic brain injury. Sometimes we see people who might be mentally challenged. In the process of that interview, we're gathering information. That interview is being observed by DSS and law enforcement from a separate room, and it's also being recorded, okay? By the time that interview's over, the investigator or the DSS worker, whatever the case may be, has got a written report and a DVD in hand that can hit the ground running and continue with that investigation. So see, in years past, it took a long time before anybody talked to the child. And then multiple people talked to them. And then these people weren't talking to each other, okay? So in addition to doing these forensic interviews, we also have a pediatric nurse practitioner who comes to our office, same place. Now, years past, kids had to drive to Columbia or to Charleston. Half of them didn't, more than half of them probably didn't make it because it was too far to go. They can come back to our office to see the pediatric nurse practitioner. I'm also asking for $5,000 towards this person's salary to assist us. In addition to the forensic interviews and medical examinations, we also provide counseling services for the children and families, free of charge. There's no charge for the families for any of these services. We offer trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy, which specifically deals with the kinds of traumas that the child has experienced. In addition to that, we have a multidisciplinary team staffing where all these child-related agencies get together, sit around the table. We often had this past Tuesday, gosh, that was just yesterday, we had 25 people sitting around the table. We have law enforcement, we've got the Department of Social Services, we've got the school district, we've got Helping Hands, we've got Cumbie Center, Children's Place, Guardian Ad Litem office. Anybody and everybody in our community who deals with children is collaborating. They're pulling all that information together. In addition to that, I provide prevention of child sexual abuse training, which is called Stewards of Children training. And that's the additional $2,000 that I'm asking for assistance with there. Today, I was just at USC Aiken training student teachers. We had about 30 student teachers that were training a lot of the nursing students. I met your young lady that you were talking about. She's awesome. She really was. We provide, let's see, this Friday we've got 120 people that are training at Edgefield, teachers and administrators. So we're really trying, we see the children and help with treatment issues and intervention issues. We're also trying very hard to look at prevention issues. We all know that child abuse is going to continue, unfortunately. But we're going to do everything that we can to treat those kids that come in our doors with love and respect and caring to help them heal, because they can heal and they can be resilient. But we're also trying to look at the prevention and help to raise the level of awareness within this community. We offer a speaker every spring. We've got Dave Pelzer coming in April. This is another thing that we do. He wrote a child called It. Okay, so see, we're trying to help with prevention kinds of issues too. But the Stewards of Children is what we're doing within the schools and within the community. I greatly appreciate being considered by Women in Philanthropy. I truly do believe that we do make a difference in the lives of children, as do many of you. And I thank you for your time.
We have another organization from Aiken. I think I'll call on them. This is the Family YMCA of Greater Augusta, but it's a branch in Aiken. And Wes Holbrook, who is right here, is the pastor of Cedar Creek Church, which I'm sure he'll explain the connection. And then this is James Thomas, who was at the site visit. So welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, and let's see, what I didn't tell you. The title of the project is Camp Puzzle Palooza, and the grant request is $11,870.
Thank you. Thank you all just for the opportunity to be here today and to speak with you just for a few minutes. I know you're probably thinking, what is a preacher doing speaking on behalf of the YMCA? Well, we have sort of a unique partnership in Aiken. And it's a long story that I won't bore you with, but it's a great story because it's something that God has been doing for a while in the Aiken community. And He brought a church and a YMCA together, which does make sense when you think about the YMCA. It's been around for over 160 years, and it is a Christ-focused organization that has been an outreach organization for many years, doing the work in the community that, frankly, churches ignored and didn't do for a very long time. And so I'm here as part of that partnership. My church happens to meet and is actually co-located in the Aiken County Family YMCA building. We helped invest in that project to build that building, and we like to say we share a space. Some of it's theirs, some of it's ours, and some of it's shared, but we say it's all ours and it's all theirs. So I say all that to say we are better together, and I believe that is true for all of us here today. I just, on a personal note, if I could say just a few presentations that I've already heard today, make me a proud citizen of the CSRA. There's a lot of great work going on. Many of you, I know our church partners with iCare and also with the Child Advocacy Center. We've got a long history anyway. I'm excited to be here. I thank all of you for what you're doing, and no matter where you decide for your money to go this year, it's going to go to a great place, and great work is going to be done with it. I am here today to talk about Camp Puzzle Palooza. And other than it being fun to say, would you just say that with me one time? Just say Puzzle Palooza. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Camp Puzzle Palooza began several years ago, about 5 years ago, really as a vision to see kids with special needs have an authentic camp experience. And the name comes from, the puzzle piece is the international symbol for autism awareness. And Palooza comes from Lollapalooza, which simply means an extraordinary event. There's actually a large summer rock concert series that happens every year that has that same name, but it's a combination of those two words. So Puzzle Palooza for us is a camp for kids with special needs. It's a need. In Aiken, we like to say that doing the work of the Y is as easy as seeing a need and meeting a need. If you have the opportunity, if you have the ability, when you see a need in front of you, to meet it, just meet it. See a need, meet a need. It's a simple way, we believe, to really be the best stewards of our community that we can be. Puzzle Palooza is a camp during the summer where kids with special needs, autism, Down syndrome, physical challenges, all that, can come to the YMCA, and they will be partnered with a buddy or a shadow. And they will be able to have an authentic camp experience like every other kid in the community has when they come to camp. They can swim, and they can learn to do arts and crafts, and they can play. Whatever their challenges are, they'll have somebody there with them to assist them, to help them fully enjoy the resources and the things that the camp has. What I want to share with you today is that special needs kids and their families really are some of the most marginalized people in our communities because they have challenges, because they have needs for special accommodations and things like that. Many children in our community with special needs, and depending on what statistics you're looking at, that could mean as many as 21% of our kids have certain challenges and special needs. They just don't have an opportunity. And frankly, there are no other camps in our area. This is the only one that we know of in the CSRA where kids can come every day for 10 weeks of the summer and participate just like every other kid in the community can come and participate. When we invest in something, we expect to see a great return, don't we? Sure we do. I mean, I don't know anybody who intentionally goes out and just throws their resources away, whether it's time, their talent, their energy, their money, whatever it is. We want to invest and we want to see a great return on our investment. And the problem is, when we invest in people, it's different, right? We can't always measure the return, especially not in the short term. I like to tell our friends when we talk about this, you know, we don't think a thing about investing money and waiting 30 years because that's just how we understand investing to work. But when we invest in people, when we spend time with people, when we spend money on people, or we give our attention and our resources to people, we kind of want to see change immediately. We want to see impact and return immediately. And frankly, it just doesn't work that way. And so as I thought about today and what I wanted to share with you, I thought about that picture of impact and how it's really not something that we can measure. It's not something that we can chart or graph and look at ourselves and say, wow, we took this money and we used it in this way and we saw this great return. We're investing in people. And so it's different. Jesus once said, whatever we've done for the least of these, we've done it for him. And so that's something for me as a pastor that I kind of cling to when I think about where I invest my time, my talent, my resources, and just something that I want to share with y'all today. An investment in Camp Puzzlepalooza is an investment in people. It is saying to kids with special needs and their families, you matter. And we have taken notice. We've seen the need, and we want to meet that need. And so I'm just here today to say thank you for considering Camp Puzzlepalooza. Your YMCA in the greater Augusta area, which is 10 branches now, is doing some incredible work in this community, from Thompson all the way to Aiken, and from Camp Lakeside all the way down to Barnwell now in South Carolina. A lot of great things going on. Camp Puzzlepalooza is something near and dear to my heart, and would welcome any questions that y'all might have about it, or I'll stick around afterwards if y'all like to talk about it. Any questions that I can answer? Thank you all very much. Appreciate your consideration.
Well, we're doing great. Anybody need to move around? We've still got these chairs over here. All right. Who would like to go next? I'll give you a choice. Anybody?
I'll go.
Dan, okay. Come on, Dan. This is Dan Hillman. Seems like most of you know him. He's the Executive Director of Child Enrichment, Inc. And the title of the project is Therapeutic Recovery and Advocacy Services for Child Abuse Victims. And the grant request is $33,000. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. It is an honor to be chosen to get to this point. And the work that Women in Philanthropy has done for the several years that it's been conducting business in Augusta and now the region is very impressive. I remember when you were struggling to get 100 women to invest, and I understand you have over 160 women members, and that is extremely impressive. We were fortunate to be awarded grants by Women in Philanthropy in 2009 and 2011, and that money went to similar endeavors that I'm going to talk about today. Child Enrichment was the first child advocacy center in the state of Georgia, and it's debated whether we were the second or third CASA program in Georgia in 1995. Both programs serve abandoned, abused, neglected, and sexually abused children. The Child Advocacy Center specializes in interviewing and providing therapeutic recovery services for sexually abused children. These are very difficult topics to listen to, and when you presented your information, people cringe. And same when I go speak to groups. These are cringe-worthy topics, and we don't even get to the full depth of how horrible some of these cases are. But I'll tell you this. The 427 girls and the 222 women of the over 1,000 total clients, boys, girls, and adults, receive services that will help them recover. Children can and do recover from torture, child sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, ongoing severe neglect. They can recover. They're very resilient. But when they don't receive the services, the results are pretty horrible. By the time they're adults, they are 3 to 10 times more likely to be in jail, to be drug addicted, or to die by suicide. Fortunately, programs like the Child Advocacy Centers, there are 39 fully accredited in Georgia, and they're growing across the country. And so eventually all counties will be covered. We primarily serve Burke, Columbia, and Richmond counties, and yet we'll take any child who has been sexually abused who does not have a forensic interviewing option or the therapy in their area. CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates, serves just Burke, Columbia, and Richmond County. And we are trusted by the local juvenile court judges to make sure that the children are safe in their temporary or permanent placement. And today we have 192 of those children in the 3 counties. Last year they served a total of 308 children. And the ultimate goal is a safe, permanent home. Loving, ideally, but a safe and permanent home. And that's the promise we make to the child. We will stay involved with you and or your sibling group until you have a safe, permanent home. And that's a difficult promise to make. It can take a year, or it can take 5 years. Most of the time it takes between 1 and 2 years to make sure that a child gets a safe and permanent placement. The states, all of them, they really can't afford to raise these children. So reunification with abusing parents is often a goal. If you can rehabilitate a parent to take responsibility and to raise their children in a safe manner, that is the state's goal. Our goal is to make sure that it is safe and that it is good environment for the children. So last year, CASA drove 75,000 miles in service to our CASA clients. And our fiscal year runs July 1 through June 30, and we're already over our travel budget for that. I'm asking that Women in Philanthropy consider funding the project of child enrichment to provide free therapy for the child abuse victims, primarily child sexual abuse victims, and to provide CASA programs and services for the sibling groups and individual children who we are serving today and will continue to serve. Our goal has always been to serve every CASA qualified client through the juvenile court, and we have been able to do that. Our juvenile court judges are great. The system is stressed, but I work with heroes. It's pretty much all women except for me, and they are the courageous heroes that go into the most dangerous situations and find the information that the judges need. And then, of course, like the Child Advocacy Centers, providing that forensic interview, even though 88% of the cases that we serve where a child has been sexually abused, that they don't have evidence, those 12% ended up in 32 convictions last year. And in the last 2 weeks, if you've read the newspaper, one gentleman was convicted and sentenced to 2 life terms plus 60 years. The next week, we had a 6-year-old, she's 8 now, testifying in court about the abuse that she suffered at age 6. The alleged perpetrator was 62 years old, and the jury did not want to put him in jail for the rest of his life, even though they believed it probably happened, and they thought that it had only happened to this child and that she could recover from it. And so, as skewed as juries are, that man was set free, but this child has a life sentence. She is a victim, and it's our job to put her back together and her loving, supportive family to make sure that she's protected and that she knows that it was not her fault and that she can seek further counseling as she grows, because most child sexual abuse victims, even at age 70, are questioning what happened and the results of those occurrences when they were very young. Again, it's an honor. I hope that the women of Women in Philanthropy will consider Child Enrichment Project, and thank you for what you do.
This is Ron Skeens. He is Director of Communication and Development at Christ Community Health Services of Augusta. And the title of their project is Diagnostic Testing and Specialist Referrals. And the grant request is for $25,000. Thank you.
I'm Ron Skeens from Christ Community Health Services, and I first want to say thank you to Women in Philanthropy for your past support. We are very, very grateful of what you've done for our organization in the past, and thank you for the chance to be here today. It is an honor. Christ Community Health Services operates 2 clinics in downtown Augusta, and most of our patients have no health insurance, which means they have very limited access to affordable care. And the way it works is that someone who has no insurance is charged on a sliding fee scale based on their income. We opened in November of 2007, and since then we have logged more than 85,000 patient encounters. Infants, children, teens, and adults. Last year alone, as we've grown, we logged more than 20,700 encounters from 15 counties in Georgia and South Carolina. So we're seeing folks from a broad spectrum around our community. That was for more than 5,500 individuals, and 3,600 of those were women and children. So that just gives you a snapshot of the patients that we're taking care of. Our request is that we're asking you to support our diagnostic testing and specialist referrals program. And what that means, these funds will be allocated on a case-by-case basis to underwrite all or a portion of the diagnostic tests and referrals to specialists for uninsured and underinsured women and children. So what's that mean? We provide basic primary health care. Our providers are board certified in internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, and women's health. Because many of our patients are uninsured, we try to cover as much of their services and their care as we can ourselves. There are a lot of diagnostic tests that we can provide ourselves internally, but sometimes a patient needs more extensive testing or even services beyond the scope of what we can provide ourselves. And these tests and these diagnostics are not covered in the cost of the regular office visit. So for many of our patients, that is a financial challenge. The grant we're asking for will underwrite a portion, or in some cases, all of the cost of these tests. Tests such as pap smears, pelvic ultrasounds, diagnostic mammograms, biopsies, referrals, and how a patient pays is going to be determined on the same kind of sliding fee scale as they pay for the office visit. And we estimate that this grant will provide care for 100 to 125 women. I'll just give you an example of one case of what your support would impact. I had a patient in 2013 who was in her 50s and came in for her annual well woman visit. Found something unusual going on, did a pap smear, did a colposcopy, and discovered that there was a cyst that needed to be biopsied. Referred her for an ultrasound, sent her to a gynecological oncologist, I said it, diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. Now the good news is that this patient is now in remission. She has since gotten Medicaid, so she has insurance, and we continue to see her. The cost of those tests and those services to get this diagnosed was around $600. But let's put that in context. She fell below 100% of the poverty level. That means her annual salary was less than her annual income was less than $12,000 a year. $600 might have been a mint for someone in that kind of situation. Without funding like this grant will provide, she simply would not have been able to afford these tests, and we might not have caught the problems as early as we did. Now that's an extreme case. Usually what we're providing is the basic test for these women and children, but in every case, these funds help us provide these important tests to our patients that they might either skip or choose to delay because of financial reasons. And now they can enjoy the peace that comes from having these screenings and know that they're healthy. With your support, we can continue to help uninsured and underinsured women and children access the care they need. So thank you again for your past support, for the chance to be here today, and thank you for all that you do for this community.
Okay, we have, let's see. This is Grace Phalangia. She's executive director in this area. This is Eric Barker. Okay. He's the board chair, and they're from HACK, H-A-C-K, Augusta. The title of their project is Young Maker, and their grant request is for $19,000.
We brought props. That's okay with you. Eric's a little under the weather, so.
I'll mostly be quiet.
And you have to move it.
You're fine.
Thank you for allowing us to come here today. We look forward to working with you guys more. The mission of HACK Augusta is a self-sustaining creative technology nonprofit organization. We provide people with space, equipment, instructions, guidance, and friendships necessary to tackle any innovative challenges they might face. We believe that the sole purpose of technology is to better human lives, and that through the mastery of it, our members can enjoy a higher quality of life, which is also makes them individually more productive. One of the programs that we currently offer is called Young Makers. It's a self-directed, experiential learning activity that is open to kids in the greater Augusta area at ages 11 to 18. Our kids don't fit into traditional enrichment programs because they aren't necessarily interested in athletics or in the arts. As a result, there aren't a lot of enrichment programs available for them. They usually end up playing video games at home, or in some cases, they program their own games. These are the future inventors of our community. These are the future Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple, or Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook. We give them a community of peers where they can develop their skills and interests through an informal, technical-based STEM curriculum. And for those that don't know, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. It is a non-graded curriculum and is designed for critical thinking and creative collaboration. One of our most successful projects, which is the one that we're asking you for funding for, is our Sumo Bot League. It is an 8 weeks robotics curriculum where we teach mechanical and electrical engineering principles, we teach computer programming, and we teach 3D printing. As these kids grow their skill sets, we also teach them reverse engineering. They advance their manufacturing skills so they eventually can fabricate their own parts and design and build their own circuit boards. The skills they are learning are critical to the 21st century workforce. They are critical in avenues of engineering, math, programming, technology development, creative problem solving, 3D modeling, 3D printing, advanced manufacturing, and collaborative teamwork. Our students are also traditionally considered outcasts in their own social settings. They might not be enriched through finding a community in their fellow peers, but they will be better prepared for technology jobs, which are some of the highest paying jobs in our economy. And as you know, Augusta is one of those leaders lately. We also support girls who want to continue in STEM education, as well as underserved communities where their exposure to STEM options are limited. It gives them career options and possibilities for college majors. It gives them role models and mentoring from the members of our community and also members of our organization that volunteered for this class. Statistically, these enrichment programs also provide positive student competencies to increase their self-confidence, their self-esteem, they have positive special behaviors, and they increase in their achievement of test scores. The funds that you guys will help provide us for will help offset the scholarships that allow the kids to take the classes, as well as underwrite some of the materials that we brought with you today. Eric has a little bit more advanced knowledge in sort of the technology of the things that we're providing, but some of those things, for example, are the soldering stations, the computer software, the plastic filament that goes into the 3D printers, the circuit board sheets, and motors, servers, and sensors. We also wanted to share with you a little bit about the curriculum that we're using that we've actually created from scratch to help these kids in terms of getting teachers and mentors involved. So it ends up being almost like a self-directed program.
Yeah, so this is a basic example of some of the curriculum that we've been developing for Sumo Bot League. And we've taken a very an approach that embraces their own culture of being geeks and being into comic books and so forth, and taking a very simplified step-by-step approach to it, where we teach kids everything from an illustrated guide to the basic rules of Sumo Bot League to in this case here how to solder and create their own circuits, as well as examples of how to program those circuits. And if you look at some of the other props that we have there, it comes down to, we started initially with a pre-made kit, robotics kit that kids would put together, but through working with them and teaching them how to manufacture, they can create their own. And that's actually a kit that's done for about 1/4 the price of the standard kits that you can buy. They design their own circuit boards, they design their own chassis, their own scoops. The robots can wrestle each other, they can line follow, and they can also play soccer. So they get to play a team sport as well.
So this purple piece actually came from our 3D printer. You can imagine that. And finally, I just want to share with you also that we also conduct assessments of their skills before and after they take our classes. They're tested in their science and math and technology skills, and then we also do evaluations at the end where we invite the teachers and the parents to give us feedback on how to make the program better. We're a fairly young organization. Eric and I are volunteers and happy that stuff, but we're seeking support from women in philanthropy, and we hope you'll join us in this unique endeavor. So thank you.
All right, we'll take one more, and that's Sean Franson from Ronald McDonald House Charities. He's the development director, and the title of the project is Temporary Housing for Families of Critically Ill or Injured Children, and the grant request is for $35,000.
Thank y'all. My throat's a little messed up, but first off, thank y'all for choosing us to be here. The Ronald McDonald House has never been to this stage, so this is truly an honor for us to be here. As you know, it's already been a big year for us, as we were 30 years on Green Street, 6,000 square foot, 11 bedroom house that doesn't have handicap accessibility and 1.6 miles away from the hospital. And then last Monday we opened the doors to our new house, 28,000 square feet, 23 bedrooms, handicap accessibility, and most importantly 150 yards away from the hospital. And we're just so excited about that. The house also has 2 isolation rooms for bone marrow treatments and that sort of thing. On Monday we brought in our first family, the Kirkland family from Athens, Georgia. And unbelievably, she's 24 weeks pregnant with quadruplets. She already has also 2 children, and her husband is at home in Athens, Georgia working while she is staying with us. So for us to have that first family here, she could have gone to Atlanta, but we were the only hospital that could handle the procedure outside of Atlanta, and she liked the feel of Augusta, Georgia. So for us to support the hospital is vital in what we do. 75% of our families come from south of Macon. To stay at the Ronald McDonald House, you have to be 25 miles away in radius. When we moved in our new house, we knew that we were going to double the amount of families that we could serve. With that, it placed a greater demand on the organization. Over the past 2 years, we've raised $6 million with our capital campaign, and most people checked off the box. I supported the Ronald McDonald House in the capital campaign. So that's kind of created a strain on us for 2015 on our operating. This means in 2015 we've got to understand, what does the house has? What are the functionalities of the house? What is the house going to need? And that's why being here today is so crucial for the Ronald McDonald House. The new house has an elevator that we didn't have. The new house has grease traps, fire suppression units, roof maintenance, air filters, none of which we had in the old house. These are all cost to us in the new house. Amazingly, we're going to double the amount of families, but we're not going to add any staff. One part-time person is going to become full-time, because the lifeblood of the house is going to be volunteers moving forward. Currently we had 30 last year, and now we're going to have 150 volunteers. We're going to have volunteers there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., answering the phone, helping the families, helping the groups that come in. And to do that, you have to have a full-time person to maintain. We understand that with the doubling amount of families, the house cost, the operational cost is probably going to go up about $35,000. These are a combination of needs and services of the house offers. We put the families first, and we will not stop serving families if we don't reach our money, but we need it. We are here to help the hospital and carry out their mission and keep patients coming in from all over Georgia. This will keep Augusta growing and the medical community thriving. Just yesterday, we had one room open, and a person came in from, I think it was Swainsboro, Georgia, with heart transplant that only Augusta could do, or Atlanta. Well, luckily we had one room open, and the fact that we were able to service them because they didn't have anywhere else to stay, and they were about to go to Atlanta, but we had one room, and that was a six-figure impact to Children's Hospital of Georgia. So we know that for us to maintain and to make sure that we have the people doing the services that need it, we have to have support from the community. The average cost of a room is $60 a night. We ask the families to give $20 each night, but they rarely do. The average donation is about $7. We don't turn away anyone. We don't ask them for any kind of credit checks or anything. We welcome everyone. The money will be used to provide day-to-day operations for the house, for the women and the children of the house, where donations are going to fall short, where meals are not cooked, where rooms are not clean, and the operations of the house are needed. It will also go to help us with the volunteer coordinator that will become full-time. We're desperate this year to have the support of Women in Philanthropy, unlike any years in the past as we move into our new house, as well until we get our revenue streams and expenses in line with our new home. We hope that Women in Philanthropy will strongly consider supporting the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Augusta. Thank you all for what you do for this community.
Thanks to every one of y'all. People, no. Yeah, this is just to thank all of y'all for coming and to say when the grants committee visited each of these sites, it was just a thrill to see how hard people are working for this community, and it's a lot of work, but we love every minute of it. And I'm glad y'all on the ballot. It will go out soon. We're going to stuff envelopes tomorrow. So anyway, we're going to be counting them on March the 11th, and then we will let y'all know. And then the annual meeting is March the 27th. That's a Friday at noon at
Augusta Country Club.
Thank you. Augusta Country Club. But anyway, you'll be getting further information about that. Could the committee people give these people a good hand? That's it, folks.
I want to, before we disperse, again thank Betty and Lee and all of her committee, and each of you to a person was so well prepared, and I know you put a lot of time and effort into it. Thank you for everything that you do every single day. We are amazed and so humbled to be able to consider you for funding. Thank you, Mark. You are such a great supporter of Women in Philanthropy, and we just love having you a part of this organization.
Thank you.
As our sole male volunteers. Thank you and have a great day.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.